In this tutorial, we're going to go over the game setting menu and how to add your own categories and how to add your own tab. So as an example, I just added some mock-up accessibility options. They don't do much, but they actually save, and also they use this nice modular way that Lyra has to create new game settings. I'm playing at the moment in standalone mode, and you'll notice that when you play in editor, you'll get more information in the category panel over here, or the details panel. So I'm just going to go back and exit this. In order to actually find out how the game setting menu was constructed and how to modify the existing categories, what you can do is you can make sure to change your play mode to play in editor. And this mode will allow you to see more information about the game settings. And it also provides a nice stop play and editor. But if I click options, you'll notice that there's more information in this panel. What's nice about this is that it actually shows the dev name of the game setting. And this you can search in your code base and see how exactly this whole setting was implemented, where it's saved, and also which class it uses to show the UI. And this is a very modular way of populating settings, and you can set up the title, you can set the range between each number. So in my case, I just looked at an example of what I wanted to achieve. So it's really nice to go in and let's say if you want to move the colorblind mode under category for accessibility, you know exactly where to find that, and you can just move it all together. Or let's say you want to add DLSS support for video. In my case, if I did that, I wouldn't be able to test it because my graphics card does not support that. But that would be a good spot to save that setting. Yeah, I'll just go ahead and play in the selected viewport. The widgets and the relationship with the class that's set up in code is actually defined under content, and then UI, and then settings, and then the one we want is the game setting registry visuals. This is where the modularity comes in. So for each widget class or setting class that we create in code, it has a widget to spawn that takes care of showing and saving or updating what the settings value is. So there's quite a few. Let's say the Lyra setting keyboard input is definitely what the mouse and keyboard one is. So you can see Lyra setting keyboard input. It's really tiny. Sorry about that. Okay, there you go. So if ever you're curious about the colorblind mode, you want to make another setting that's also an enum, you can go to the class. In this case, it's a game setting value discrete dynamic enum. So there's this one that's discrete. So if you open that up, you'll see how that's all set up, and it's very modular and ready to receive any size of enum, and also this kind of uh, discrete dynamic number. Like it could be numbers, it could be an enum. It handles a lot of different types of settings. I'm just going to show how I set up the accessibility, just adding a category to an existing category, and also how to populate or add to this side panel over here. Let's go ahead and open up our project in Writer or Visual Studio. Okay, and in code, we could search for the dev name language, but I'm pretty sure it'll come up with a lot. So I'll just search for record replay. So back in our editor, you can, in my case, it's Control T to search for everywhere. So record replay. Okay, and it helps to search by text because in this case, it's just a dev name. It's just a text. So that's how I found out where the game settings are defined. So let's click on that. And if you didn't want to search, Essentially, all the game settings are defined in code under the source, Lyra game, and then settings. And then here you have your list of all your different categories and how the game settings registry is set up that we just saw. And also local settings and shared settings. And as far as I can understand so far, local is more for the machine you're running on, for it to remember those settings, and shared can actually go and save in a save file and maybe be used in cloud save. So all we want to do to add a category, first of all, we could look at something that's also a bool. So in this case, I was lucky because there was already the replay collection and it already saves just the value of, do you want to record replays? And in this case, it was a setting local. Um, I'm guessing something like Rocket League. Maybe you want to save on PC, but not on Xbox. In this case, it's also cool that they have the example of just checking that it supports replays and also checks if you are playing as the primary player. Essentially, I just duplicated this whole category here and I duplicated it here. So you'll have access to the code in my GitHub link that I would provide in the video description. All you need to do is paste all of this, okay? And this here is just the name of the category. So it's just this name here. And then arachnophobia mode is what I wrote right here. And it's a localized text. So if I ever want to localize this, then I just need to write down what this is for this name per language. And then the setting the description rich text, that's what shows up on the sidebar. Make the scary spiders look like cute capybaras. So I have played a lot of Capybara Spa, which sparked this idea. But essentially, I don't really foresee a game where you play against scary spiders and their capybaras. But it's good for if you're scared of spiders. And then there's some really nice macros that comes with the example or the game settings examples for directly binding my settings. So this nice macro comes in with the game setting, and it's nice because it binds directly to the value. You can set the default value also from the Lyra settings locals. So once you paste this, it'll still show all red because we haven't actually set up our arachnophobia mode setting. So what you want to do, so you want to open the Lyra setting local. Okay. And then just over on app activation state changed, you can paste, essentially you can paste all of this because we'll be using it for our other tab. But the one I'm mostly interested in is just this bit here. So it's a configuration variable and very simple. It just sets, do you have arachnophobia mode enabled or not? And by default, it's false. Yeah, and then it's nice because that that macro we saw, it will bind to this function and that function to get the values or set the values directly. This is pretty much all you need. And then when you run your game, so I would just run here, but I already have mine up and running, then you will get this nice category here under the gameplay tab. And so the next part, I want to show how to add something custom here. So you'll notice that the colorblind mode uses this here. And in your game setting registry, what I noticed is that there's a section for extensions. So there's a extension for classes, which is for enum option extension. And this one I noticed it has something to do with populating anything that has an enum. So right here, so we will show all of these. But the one I was interested in is the colorblind mode. So the colorblind mode, that's the name, that's actually the dev name of this here. So colorblind mode right here. So this just says that by name, I want this widget in the panel. So I did the same thing for gameplay arachnophobia mode. And then I added a widget, which is the same widget as the one for the colorblind mode, but I just added this cute little capybara. Yeah, so it's essentially just an image of its original size. I also provide the link of this image in my video description. So that's a nice way that you can control what you want to be shown in this category here. And you can even add some editor only text. Okay, now I'd like to go over how to add another tab to your game settings. So you could also change the order of the tabs, you could change what's in it, you can really make it your own for your game. So anything you don't want to support for your game, you can just remove. In our case, let's go ahead and you can go ahead and add this C++ file to your project. So I have this in its entirety in the GitHub repo. And essentially it just adds different categories and it adds some cool settings. Okay, so once you have this one in your project, you can go ahead and also open your game settings registry because we actually need to register this new category. So go ahead and open up Lyra game setting registry.h and then navigate down. And let's go ahead and add accessibility settings to your member variables. Yeah, and then we just need to register and initialize this setting. So go ahead and open up your Lyra game setting registry.cpp. And then all we need to add is in the onInitialize function, let's go ahead and initialize the accessibility settings and register the setting. And this will take care of really having all that data ready. Okay, and then the next thing we want to do, because you'll have a lot of red errors, is we want to add all those settings so that they're ready to be bound to our nice UI. So go ahead and add the rest of the settings in the Lyra settings local. So the UI scale %, which also isn't doing anything, but it's ready to be used. Okay, and then go ahead and open Lyra settings shared. So this is the one has all that description about being stored as part of the save game system. So I'd like to really dig more into what that means. It could be really useful for games. Okay, and then first I want to scroll up. You'll notice that there's also already an enum for colorblind mode. So that's the one that's used for the UI also. So we'll go ahead and just add a difficulty setting because one of them, I have something for difficulty settings. It might be a little hard to set difficulty settings in Lyra while you're playing. So this might be more useful earlier when you're choosing maybe your server or your lobby. So yeah, go ahead and paste the enum right under, any of these enums really. But I just put mine under the allow background audio setting. And then under the apply settings and just before the colorblind options, I just added this game change here just for the difficulty options. And then there's just a little bit more in your Lyra settings shared. So go ahead and open that up. Okay, and then I'm just gonna search for game change. Okay, great. So right after apply settings, and again, just before set color, blind strength, I added this whole section here. So it just makes sure to set the difficulty, and I just add a comment of like, just put whatever logic you feel should be here. Um, and again, for the actual functionality, it's good to look at other examples. This video is definitely more about just setting it up and using it modularly and having some nice settings that are saved ready for functionality. Okay, so I think we have all our code in. Go ahead and run that. And then when you play, you'll notice that the accessibility category isn't here yet. So there's just one more step to do before we can see it. It's essentially to open up this widget and register this tab with this content here. So I'm just going to go ahead and stop the simulation. Okay, and then let's go ahead and navigate to content, UI, settings, and then the Lyra settings screen is what we want. Okay, and then go ahead and open up your graph editing mode. Okay, and then in the event construct, that's where we register the top level tabs. So this is where you can set a different order. Okay, so what you want to do is it'll look like this. So you want to just add a pin and then drag out and then search for register top level tab. Okay. And then what you want to do is you just want to use the same name as you gave your collection. So in our case, it's accessibility collection. The name was set up in our game setting registry accessibility. And then it's the dev name of the game setting collection. So this is where I got the name. And that's the tab name. And then those are the category name, and that's the setting name. So just copy paste that one and paste it right here. Okay, and then compile and save. And then you should be good. So, and then you should be able to just play, exit options, and then your new options are here. So yeah, I'll just put them side by side just to show what I chose. Okay, so sorry about my font size. It's hard to have both be in the same screen. Okay, so our arachnophobia mode. You'll notice that I named it something different than the other one. So what happens is that you gotta make sure that the dev name is not the same. So this one is gameplay arachnophobia mode. And then that one is just arachnophobia mode. Because in the backend, it binds differently and it uses different UI, it will throw an insure if you use the same dev name. So that's what's happening if you run into that. So you just gotta make sure to have a unique name for every single dev setting. And then I went down and for the enum, I really took example from the colorblind mode. So it was just a matter of creating an enum. So in this case, the difficulty setting enum we did, and then just giving it some text. So I just gave it some text. Everything hurts, survivable, stroll in the park. So this is where you can set that up, or also in your localization dashboard. This one doesn't really matter if you're playing as the primary player. And then I just made sure to have a different category for UI just to show you can create as many categories as you want. So for the UI scale, that one took me a little bit longer because there was no example of exactly what I wanted from 10% to 200%. Like the audio is just like over 100%. The closest one was the targeting sensitivity. They have very granular control. So in my case, I pretty much took example from that one and just use a lambda. It was really nice that I could just format exactly how I wanted the setting to look like. So in my case, I just made sure to add the percentage at the end, and then just the, so there's the name, and then there's just the map value from 0 to 1. And then I made sure that my output range is from 10 to 200. And then for the actual source range and step, I just set it from 10 to 200. And then the source step is 10. So if I wanted to be 1% each step, then I would have put a 1 right here. And if I wanted my range to be different, then I would have changed this one. And I just made sure that there's a minimum limit because I don't really want my text scale to be 0%, let's say. And then there again, I just made sure that you're playing as the primary player. So this is a very nice modular way of treating player game settings. And it's nice because it saves on their machine and they can save their settings. They can customize anything. And it's nice that Lyra provides so many examples of settings that are already really great, like a lot of video settings and auto setting quality. And hopefully this video will help you dissect any of these to understand them, modify them, make your own. And one last note I want to make is that with this game setting registry and all of these widgets, it's nice and easy to style it to make it look the way that you want it to look and fit the style of your game. Yeah, there's so many things to dig into Lyra, and it was really fun to dig into this one and understand exactly how the tabs work and make it my own. So yeah, as always, thank you for watching and see you in the next one.